Many people seek my help for deliverance from voices in their head. If you or a loved one suffer from this phenomenon, heed carefully what I'm going to share. It could be life-saving. If you've ever wondered, are the voices in my head demons? There are crucial things you need to understand. The Bible doesn't directly address this matter, though it's likely that people in the time of Christ suffered from auditory messages that were heard in the mind. Of course, people in Palestine wouldn't have understood psychological and physiological explanations, since these aspects of the body and consciousness were not yet explored. And we can assume that demonic cases such as Legion in Mark chapter 5 must have involved this form of mental torment, voices in the mind. Such happenings today are not rare, unfortunately. In fact, they are quite common. Those experiencing voices in the mind report that what they hear falls into one of several categories. This is what people tell me. The voices are blasphemous, self-condemning, or encouraging. They may suggest immoral or violent acts. They may also claim to be God or the voice of an angel. How can you distinguish if what is going on is from a natural or supernatural origin, or whether it's a malfunction of the brain, a form of mental delusion? Psychotic people, those who are mentally ill and out of touch with reality, hear voices, but sometimes people come to me who are perfectly sane and well-adjusted. They experience these incidents from time to time. In my counseling and deliverance ministry experience, I've found that these voices usually come from one of the following sources. Number one, they are demons. These voices curse, speak profanely, and they seek to turn the victim away from the Lord and the things of God. Number two, mental unrealities. These voices suggest things which are factually inaccurate. Let me give you an example. Someone says to me, the government has planted a computer chip in my head to track my movements. Not likely. Number three, dissociated alter personality states. These are disconnected aspects of the person's own mind, consciousness, and were likely created by some known or unknown trauma. The fourth possibility is what I call dissociated soul transference, a DST as we call it in our International School of Exorcism. These are mind control interjects of consciousness from a living person, such as an individual seeking witchcraft revenge or someone trying to dominate the thoughts of the person that they target. The fifth kind of voice is what I call AGD, that's short for ancestral dissociated soul parts. These voices are genetically inherited aspects of consciousness from a past ancestor, embedded in the DNA of the living person by being attached to a generational curse. And all of this is explained in Bob Larson University to students who want to study it further. All these categories of explanation are discussed in our studies. And frankly, it takes a highly trained deliverance minister to analyze what is going on. In the preliminary courses of Bob Larson University, we teach the finer aspects of evaluating mental health issues for the layperson. We're not into psychology and psychiatry. That's not our purpose, but we want to help the average person to understand this. Sadly, most deliverance ministers jump to the conclusion that voices in the mind are demonic and immediately rebuke them and try to cast them out. Well, that could be helpful if the source of the voices is demons. But what if it's an alter personality state or one of the mental conditions I have just described? Great harm can be done that might tip the person over the edge to greater mental instability. So here are some quick questions to ask the person suffering from hearing voices. Do the communications suggest ungodly actions? That's likely to be demonic. Do the voices self-condemn? Self-recriminating voices? may be dissociative disorder identities that accuse the individual because of the false interpretations of past abuse. That past abuse is interpreted by a part of the brain as the person being at fault. Do the voices claim to be angels, aliens, past lives, or disembodied entities? Well, these are almost always from a satanic source. Does the voice claim to be from God or even an utterance of Jesus Christ? Well, these are usually deceptions from interjections of evil spirits and must be forced to respond to the test of 1 John 4, 1 through 3 to test the spirits regarding the incarnation of Christ. As you can see, there's no simple answer to the source of voices in the mind because there are so many variables and possibilities. Don't try to understand this on your own. You likely can't objectify your own thoughts to identify the source. I've dealt with thousands of such cases, and I encourage you to contact our ministry for a virtual or personal encounter with me or one of our associate ministers. We don't have all the answers, but at least we know some of the pitfalls to avoid. A Christian counselor with mental health training can also be helpful, especially if such a person understands dissociative identity disorder and multiple personalities and deliverance. So with good guidance and prayer, the voices in your head can be identified, silenced, and even expelled if they are demonic. But as the old adage says, don't try this on your own, and don't do this at home.
Your financial support and prayers make it possible for us to bring hope for the hurting and freedom to those in spiritual bondage. For the latest information regarding ministry outreaches, go to boblarson.org or call 303-980-1511.